Hello, Wildcats. Welcome to day 1 of our note-taking about beaches. Chapter 2, Lesson 3, page 68. Let's go ahead and set up our paper. First thing is the same. I write my name. My name is Mr. Rob, but you put your name, don't put mine. Like Mr. Rob, that joke's getting old. Okay. Class, period, AVID, capital A, capital V, capital I, capital D, 6. Date. I believe today is October 2nd or 3rd. 10. Oh, but it's going to be Monday. So that's the 5th. 10/5/2020. So now you know I'm doing this on Friday. Topic or objective. We are doing science, capital SCIENCE, FNT, capital F, capital N, capital T, phase, capital PHASE, 2, process, capital PROCESS. So phase 1 is taking the notes, and then phase 2 is the processing. One example of processing is highlighting the key details that support the main idea. All right, the main idea, essential question. Let's get our blue pen or blue pencil or a blue crayon to underline and highlight. And we are doing beaches. I'm going to go right about here. Capital BEACHES, beaches. Fold my paper over in half, long ways, all the way up and all the way down. Man, try folding a piece of paper in half with one hand. That's hard. Okay, main idea. Capital MAIN, idea, capital IDEA, slash, capital E, period, capital Q, period, for essential question, colon. Switch back to our pencil. Beaches are formed through erosion and deposition. Hey, we've learned about those, okay? Beaches, capital BEACHES, form, FORM, via, that's the same thing as through or by, erosion, EROSION, and, down 3 down, deposition, DEPOSITION, period, because we're having a second idea. Sand is supplied by rivers and moved along the coast by waves. Okay, sand, capital SAND, supplied, SUPPLIED, by, BY, rivers, RIVERS, comma, moved, MOVED, by, BY, waves, WAVES, period. So beaches form via erosion and deposition. In other words, something is eroding or carving away at the land, and then deposition, depositing it somewhere else. We know that the thing being carved away is the sand. The rivers are carving out all the sand, carrying it down to the ocean, and then the ocean moves it around because of the wave motions. All right. Lots and lots of vocabulary words this week, which makes it a long first day, but is also going to make it easier going forward because then there won't be a lot of notes to take. All right, let's go in alphabetical order. Arch, page 68. So arch, ARCH, is on page 68. Here it is. If the headland is narrow, sea caves on both sides of it may join to form an arch. Huh, okay. Let's see if we can see an arch anywhere here in our pictures. Oh, there's an arch right there. Form when erosion cuts a hole through a narrow headland. What is a headland? They keep saying this thing headland. Ah, headland. So it's a little piece of land that sticks out. And I bet that's going to be one of our vocabulary words. Okay, so for arches, let's go ahead and say something about erosion cutting a hole through a headland. Arch. Hole, HOLE, cut, CUT, through, THROUGH, hole cut through headland. Headland. And you know what? We can draw a little picture. Okay, so let's do the arch underneath. There's a little arch. And let's put little wave lines like that, because there's the water. And then a little further over here, let's make the rocky top that goes kind of like that. And there we go. That's an arch. And then we can shade in the rocky part so that we know that that open hole right there is the arch. Okay, always helps. If you can draw a picture, do it. Math, English, science, history, anything. If you can draw a picture to help yourself see in your mind what it is, go ahead and do that. Next up, Barrier Island. B-A-R-R-I-E-R. Island, I-S-L-A-N-D. Barrier Island was on page 69. Here's page 69. A barrier island is a sandbar that runs parallel to the shore. Parallel to the shore. That means it runs in the same direction. Okay, so I'm looking for something that runs in the same direction as the coast. Aha! Barrier Island. Oh, so it's like a little island out in the water, and it acts as a barrier. It kind of blocks the waves from getting in here, doesn't it? Barrier Island. So, Sandbar, S-A-N-D-B-A-R. Notice there's a little sandbar right there. Parallel, P-A-R-A-L-L-E-L, to, T-O, shore, S-H-O-R-E. And shore is the same thing as the coast. So, a barrier island, let's draw a little picture. Let's say that that is the barrier island, and then we'll say that that is the shore, S-H-O-R-E. And then right here we're going to do capital B, period, capital I, period. That stands for barrier island. Next one, beach. Hey, I think we know what a beach is. B-E-A-C-H. But let's see what the fancy academic term is. A beach is made up of sand or other loose sediment that has been deposited along a shoreline. Okay, so the shoreline is where the water meets the land. If it's steep, it's a cliff. But if it's nice and smooth with all this deposited sand, we call it a beach. All right, sand, loose sediment, deposited shoreline. Sand, S-A-N-D, slash, loose, L-O-O-S-E, sediment, S-E-D-I-M-E-N-T, deposited, D-E-P-O-S-I-T-E-D, indent, along, A-L-O-N-G, shoreline, S-H-O-R-E-L-I-N-E. Sand or loose sediment that is deposited along the shoreline. We don't need a picture of a beach. We know what that is in our mind. Cliff. C-L-I-F-F. Cliff. We saw that cliff earlier right there. I bet it's going to say something about the shoreline but being a steep. Overhanging rock may collapse, forming steep rock features called cliffs. Aha! Okay. Steep, S-T-E-E-P. Rock, R-O-C-K. At-A-T. Shoreline, S-H-O-R-E-L-I-N-E. Boy, that shoreline is an important word, isn't it? Headland. Headland. H-E-A-D-L-A-N-D. We heard that earlier when we were talking about arches. And we saw a headland here. Something about it sticking out into the water. Headlands are narrow sections of land that jut out into the ocean. So jut out means it sticks out. Okay, headland. Narrow, N-A-R-R-O-W, comma, juts, J-U-T-S, out, O-U-T, into, I-N-T-O, ocean, O-C-E-A-N. Okay, let's try to draw a little picture. Like, let's have the coast or the shoreline like that, and then out comes a headland, and then there goes the shore. So, S-H-O-R-E for shore over here. And then right next to that, capital H, capital L for headland. And we'll kind of shade that side of it so we know that that's the rock side. Okay. Sandbar. S-A-N-D-B-A-R. Notice we're not skipping spaces this week because there are so many words we got to be able to squeeze them all into this space. The current may deposit a sandbar, a ridge of sand below the water's surface. Okay, ridge, R-I-D-G-E, of, O-F, sand, S-A-N-D, below, B-E-L-O-W, water, W-A-T-E-R. So sand gets deposited and it's just below the water's surface. Like you could see it from up above through the water, but if you're just standing there looking along the water, you wouldn't see it. And it starts to build up and collect. And if it builds up and collects enough and ends up becoming a little island, then it turns into a barrier island. Okay. So it's like a barrier island, but below water. Okay, let's put that next to sandbar. Underwater, U-N-D-E-R, W-A-T-E-R, B period, I period. And we'll put quotes. So that tells us it's kind of like an underwater barrier island. All right, sandbar, and then sea cave. C-S-E-A, cave, C-A-V-E. Well, I bet that's just a cave next to the sea or the ocean. And there's a picture of a sea cave right over there. Let's see here. Holes called sea caves are left behind. Left behind by what? Okay, let's go further back. Weaker rock is worn away more quickly than stronger rock. Holes called sea caves are left behind. Okay, well, what's causing that erosion or wearing away? Overhanging rock may collapse, forming steep rock features called cliffs. No, okay, let's keep going backwards. Waves first erode the bases of the headlands. Oh, okay. So waves are eroding the coast or the shoreline. They're eroding the base of headlands first. Remember, the base of the headlands? So that means the bottom that meets the water right there. If it erodes it a little bit, it can cause a hole or an arch. If it erodes it a lot, you end up with a cliff. And then if it keeps eroding even more and there's a spot that's soft or weak, it will turn into a sea cave. All right, so sea caves are when weaker rock wear away more quickly and leave a hole. Okay, so sea cave. Weak, W-E-A-K, rock, R-O-C-K, erodes, E-R-O-D-E-S, arrow, hole, H-O-L-E. So sea caves form when weak rock erodes and leave a hole behind. Ah, they leave behind a hole. Okay. Notice how we had to find the word, but we had to keep going backwards until we figured out what it was that was causing the sea caves. Cause and effect. Cause waves, effect sea caves. Sea stack. Sea stack. Stack. Something you stack high and tall. Stack. Oh, sea stacks are offshore columns of rock created by wave erosion. Oh, a column, because columns are straight up and down, just like a stack of rock is up and down. Okay, let's see what it says here. This rock column is called a sea stack. Okay, it's a rock column. What rock column? The ocean side of the arch is left standing alone. Arch. Oh, they're talking about arches. Okay. As erosion continues, the top of the arch may collapse. Ah, so when an arch forms, it's going to keep eroding. It doesn't stay an arch forever. And if all of this stuff right here gets eroded away and falls in, you'll be left with that tall pillar or column of rock right there all by itself. And what happens is it ends up looking like that, or those, sea stacks. Okay, so it's the left behind part, or the remnants of an arch. R-E-M-N-A-N-T-S, remnants. Look at that R-E-M, as in remain. A sea stack is the part of the arch that remains after it's all fallen down. So remnants of OF arch, ARCH. And then let's say, what did they say? Rock column, comma, rock, ROCK, column, COLUMN. And now, let's go ahead and draw a picture, but let's try to make it look a little bit like this side of the arch over here, right? So we had that little tall part, and it came down to a point, and then there was like the left side of the arch, and then there were waves right along there. There we go. And then we kind of shade it in a little bit so we know that that's the rock. So it's a column. A column is straight up and down. It's a stack. All right, it's a stack of rock. Last one, spit. Spit, S-P-I-T. Spit. Well, I bet that's something that like sticks out because you spit out of your mouth, so I bet the spit spits out. Spits are sandbars with one end attached to land. Oh, so it's kind of like a headland, but it's more sandy and loose, like a sandbar. So if a sandbar is connected to the land, then we change its name to a spit. Okay. A spit is a sandbar that rises above the water level and has one end attached to the shore. Okay, so it's a sandbar, S-A-N-D-B-A-R, but, so we're going to put parentheses, above, A-B-O-V-E, water, W-A-T-E-R, and zoop, attached, A-T-T-A-C-H-E-D. So a spit is basically a sandbar, but it's above water, and it's attached to the mainland. Okay. Well, it's kind of like a headland, but it doesn't stick up very high. It's just sand. Interesting. Ah, let's do that. Okay, squiggle. We indented and then squiggle. Headland, H-E-A-D-L-A-N-D. So it's like a headland, but it's made out of sand, or it's loose sediment. Headlands, remember, are basically rock. Okay, wow, that was a lot of vocabulary words, but now we can move on to the red section. So let's go ahead and get our red pen, our red colored pencil, or the red crayon to underline this name. Shaping shorelines. Capital S, H-A-P-I-N-G, shorelines, capital S-H, O-R-E-L-I-N-E-S, shaping shorelines. Moving ocean water continually changes the shape of a shoreline, as do winds. Waves gradually wear down the rock. Water is forced into cracks in the rocks, wedging them apart over time. Salt helps dissolve or weaken the rock. Ooh, there's a lot of good information there. Okay, so we have waves, W-A-V-E-S. What else did they say? Wind, W-I-N-D. And the salt. Remember how we learned about mechanical versus chemical erosion? Waves and wind are mechanical, but the salt is chemical. It kind of eats away at the rock and dissolves it. Waves plus wind plus salt equals erosion. E-R-O-S-I-O-N. Okay, the waves gradually wear down the rock. Water's forced into the cracks, wedges them apart. Salt dissolves or weakens the rock. Okay. Land that sticks out into the ocean is eroded first. Well, that makes sense. If it sticks out, it's the first thing to get hit by the waves. Okay. Headlands are narrow sections of land that jut out into the ocean. Waves first erode the bases of the headlands. Overhanging rock may collapse, forming steep rock features called cliffs. Ah, okay, so let's kind of do a sequence of events, right? This sounds like headlands are first, and it's going to go in order. So let's start right here under shaping shorelines, and let's say we have headlands, H-E-A-D-L-A-N-D-S, headlands, and remember those are these parts that stick out or jut out into the ocean. As headlands wear away, they can turn into cliffs. Cliffs, C-L-I-F-F-S. Or, if it doesn't wear away and become a cliff, it can turn into an arch. So underneath cliffs, let's put arch, A-R-C-H. Weaker rock is worn away more quickly than stronger rock, Holes called sea caves are left behind. Okay, so if you have a cliff and then it gets worn away on the inside, it can become a sea cave. So cliffs can become sea caves. Okay, C-S-E-A, caves, C-A-V-E-S. If the headland is narrow, sea caves on both sides of it may join to form an arch. Okay, so sea caves actually kind of can become an arch, right? So if you've got this headland sticking out here and it starts wearing away in here, that's a sea cave. And it starts wearing away over there, that's a sea cave. And if they end up joining together and making a hole that goes all the way through, then we call it an arch. Okay, as erosion continues, the top of the arch may collapse. The ocean side of the arch is left standing alone. This rock column is called a sea stack. So the arch can become a sea stack, S-E-A-S-T-A-C-K. Recall that rivers deposit sediment as they empty into the ocean. So they deposit or drop it off. Sediment is the loose dirt and stuff. So they dump it in the ocean. Ocean waves can pick up sediment from one spot and deposit it farther down the shoreline. Okay, so the waves are powerful like rivers, and they pick up the sand and they move it down the shoreline depending on which way the waves move. See here it says waves move sand down a beach. So the waves push and move the sand in, and then as the waves go out, they drag the sand back out, and over time it goes up and down and up and down and up and down, and they drag the sand over this way. And sometimes they can form sandbars and barrier islands. Okay, let's see. Sand and larger sediment are deposited while finer silt is washed out to sea. So the bigger, heavier stuff, the denser stuff like sand or large sediment get deposited and form the beach. Anything really, really fine like the stuff that you kind of see floating in the water, the fine silt, washes out to sea. Okay. Let's go ahead and write that somewhere. Sand, S-A-N-D, / large, L-A-R-G-E, sediment, S-E-D-I-M-E-N-T, deposits, D-E-P, ooh, that was an ugly D, sorry, O-S-I-T-S. So sand and larger sediment deposits at the beach. Indent, fine, F-I-N-E, that means tiny. Silt, S-I-L-T, that's like very, very fine, not even sand, just like the little stuff you see floating in muddy water. Fine silt, arrow, ocean, O-C-E-A-N. Fine silt gets carried out to the ocean. When more sediment is deposited than eroded, a beach forms. So if most of it gets deposited rather than being washed out to sea, you end up forming a beach. Okay. A beach is made up of sand or other loose sediment that has been deposited along a shoreline. Beaches are dynamic systems, meaning they are continually changing. Okay, so beach, B-E-A-C-H, equals dynamic, D-Y-N-A-M-I-C, which means equals change, C-H-A-N-G-E. So dynamic, dyna, means to move or to change. Beaches are dynamic. They are constantly changing. When you go to the beach, you don't see the change because our lifetimes are very short compared to what's going on. But if you look at a beach over the course of a couple hundred years or even longer, then you'll really start to see the changes. Like waves, ocean currents also carry sediment. Longshore currents run parallel and very close to the shore. Okay, so longshore currents move. There are currents that move up and down the shore. Such currents carry sediment from one place to another along the shoreline. The current may deposit a sandbar, a ridge of sand below the water's surface. Okay, so there are longshore currents. L-O-N-G-S-H-O-R-E, current, C-U-R-R-E-N-T. And we're going to put parentheses parallel, P-A-R-A-L-L-E-L. Remember the two lines in parallel are parallel to each other? So longshore current is parallel to the shore. Okay. So if we're looking at this picture, that means that there are currents either moving this way or back the other way, parallel to the shore. And we kind of see that here, right? Over time, that sand on the beach is getting moved to the left. That's the Longshore Current. A spit is a sandbar that rises above the water level and has one end attached to the shore. Okay, we already talked about that. The end of the spit that is not attached to land is often shaped like a hook. Interesting. A barrier island is a sandbar that runs parallel to the shore. Okay, we already have that. Some barrier islands start out as spits and become detached from the shore by wave erosion or a rise in sea level. Others form after storm waves pick up sediment from the ocean floor and deposit it in one area. Still others were sand dunes that became flooded when the sea level rose thousands of years ago. Interesting. So there are many ways to form a barrier island. Okay. Barrier islands extend along the Atlantic coast of the United States. That's the east coast. Some of these islands are 160 kilometers or 100 miles long or more. Barrier islands protect the shoreline from storm damage. They also provide fragile habitats for wildlife and plants. Okay. So, barrier islands can be big. Barrier, B-A-R-R-I-E-R, islands, I-S-L-A-N-D-S, can, C-A-N-B-B-E, huge, H-U-G-E, big enough for people to live on, or big enough for wildlife and plants, right? Protect shoreline from storms, indent, protect, P-R-O-T-E-C-T, shoreline, S-H-O-R-E-L-I-N-E, storms, S-T-O-R-M-S. Let's put an arrow in between those. So they protect the shoreline from storms. And it's also habitat, H-A-B-I-T-A-T. Right? An island out there in the middle of the ocean can be a very safe place for birds, for example. Birds can make nests out there and have their babies and not have them eaten by raccoons and rats and all the other egg-eating predators up there on the mainland. Or maybe sea lions and otters and other animals can use that as a little spot to rest so they don't get disturbed. All right, we have looked at all these pictures as we were doing the vocabulary words. Let's see if we can answer this using our notes. How does a sandbar compare to a beach? How does a sandbar compare to a beach? Okay, sandbar was like an underwater barrier island, right? And a barrier island was the little island that runs along the shore. So a sandbar is just like sand out there in the water running along the shoreline. How does that compare to a beach? Okay, well, we know the beach is like the loose sand or sediment along the shoreline that we can stand on, like this. So let's say something like, a sandbar is similar to a beach because it's made out of sand or loose sediment, period. But, comma, a sandbar is different because it's underwater and it runs parallel to the shoreline. A beach is above water and is connected to the mainland. It's part of the shoreline. All right, there we go. So similarities, they're both made out of loose sediment and sand, but the difference is the sandbar's below water and kind of like runs parallel to the shoreline. The beach literally is the shoreline. It's a place you can go stand on. All right, I know that was a little bit rough, but the next couple days we have a Tuesday and a Wednesday, and then we're going to be done. Thursday we'll do our Phase 2 processing and our highlighting, and Friday we'll post it. So, first day is always the hardest, especially when there's a lot of vocabulary words, but then the rest of the week gets easier, and that's good. Start the week off strong, and then relax from there. Good job persevering with the growth mindset, and roar Wildcats!